time to come play with us, Emma.
The snow fell thick and silent, muffling the world outside. Inside the Parker home, the Christmas tree lights flickered, throwing fractured shadows across the living room. Emma pressed her forehead to the cold window, staring at the empty street, feeling the kind of quiet that hums in your bones. Somewhere a door creaked, slow, deliberate, and she swore it hadn't been the wind. She turned, heart thumping, to the soft glow of the tree. The ornaments didn't shimmer the same. One, small, wooden, carved into a face, twisted slowly as if catching her eyes. Her hand froze mid-reach. A whisper slithered from the hallway. Not a word she could understand, but a tone sharp enough to make the hair on her arms stand on end. "Emma!" It hissed. She spun toward the sound, but the hallway was empty. Nothing but the crooked shadows of coat hooks and the pale light of the hall lamp. A floorboard groaned behind her. She blinked, and a second shadow taller than any person she knew flickered at the far end of the room. Her phone lay on the couch, glowing with a missed call notification. But the number was blocked, and the timestamp from 3 minutes ago. Emma's breath caught in her throat. The Christmas lights pulsed once, then went out entirely. The house was gone silent, except for that whisper again, closer now, impossibly close. "Emma!" She dropped to the floor, crawling toward the stairs, and froze. At the top, something was already waiting. Emma's fingers brushed the worn carpet as she crawled toward the stairs, her body pressed low like a hunted animal. Her breath came in shallow bursts, each one loud in the unnatural stillness of the Parker house. The shadows at the top didn't move, but they didn't need to. They waited. She didn't look up. Not yet. She had returned home from the late-night shift at the hospital hours ago, the streets empty and white under the snow. The radio on the kitchen counter had been dead since afternoon, a thin layer of frost forming along the edges of the window. Christmas had always been her favorite time. Lights, warmth, the soft hum of family togetherness. But tonight, it felt wrong. Like the world outside had melted away and left only this quiet, breathing house behind her. Emma climbed the stairs slowly, one careful step at a time. The hallway stretched above her, narrow and dim, lit only by the faint reflection of the tree lights below. She reached the top and froze again. A soft, dragging sound. Something had moved. "Hello." Her voice cracked, too loud, too sharp. The sound bounced off the walls, swallowed almost immediately by silence. No reply. The house had always been old, creaking, groaning, settling into its bones, but this wasn't normal. Not tonight. The walls seemed to bend slightly, the wallpaper curling in the corners as though watching. Her eyes caught a picture frame on the landing. A family photo of her parents, her younger brother. The image was familiar, yet wrong. Her father's smile stretched a fraction too wide, her brother's eyes too dark. She blinked and it was gone, normal again. Emma shook her head. "I'm imagining things." That was what she told herself. She had to be imagining things. She had grown up hearing the stories about the old Parker house, whispers of accidents, strange disappearances, but she had always laughed them off. Ghost stories for children. Old wives' tales for a winter night. Yet the atmosphere pressed in around her. Heavy and deliberate. The smell of pine from the tree downstairs had turned metallic, like iron in the air. Something unseen brushed past her arm, a cold, deliberate caress that made her stomach twist. She dropped the handrail, scrambling back, her pulse hammering. A laugh, soft, high and wrong, echoed from the kitchen. Emma's head whipped around. The kitchen was dark. The oven light was off. Yet in the shadows, she swore she saw movement, a figure crouched low among the chairs. She forced herself to step forward. The first step creaked under her weight, a stark announcement of her presence. The second step brought her to the landing. The hallway stretched into two directions. Her old bedroom to the left, the guest room to the right. Her instinct screamed to run back downstairs, to leave the house entirely, but something pulled her forward, a mixture of fear and obligation. Emma's phone buzzed in her pocket, a sudden vibration that made her jump. She pulled it out, screen glowing. A text. Unknown number. No words, only an image. Her own living room. Empty. Or so it seemed, until she noticed the tree ornaments, one crooked, the small carved face staring directly at the camera, just as it had stared at her downstairs. Her hand shook. She scrolled, and another picture appeared. The staircase from below. And at the top, a shadow that hadn't been there when she looked moments ago. Emma's chest tightened. I'm alone. I'm alone. I'm alone. She whispered the mantra again and again. But the house was alive around her. The faint hum of Christmas lights flickering, the distant creak of floorboards, every sound amplified, deliberate, like a countdown. Her bedroom door loomed ahead, the familiar oak warped and slightly ajar. She stepped closer, forced herself to look inside. Nothing. The bed was made, the little stuffed reindeer on the pillow, the faint scent of peppermint lingering from earlier. Safe, or so it seemed. Then she heard it. A soft knock, slow, deliberate. 3 knocks. Coming from the inside of the closet. Emma froze. Hand on the doorknob. Her mind screamed run, but her body stayed. Curiosity had always been her flaw. She had to know, had to see. She inched closer, the carpet soft under her feet but somehow muffling all sound of escape. A whisper barely audible. Emma. Her blood ran cold. She staggered back, heart hammering, and stumbled into her dresser. The drawers rattled, a metallic clink echoing unnaturally in the room. Then silence. She sank to the floor, breathing hard, trying to make sense of the impossible. The house was still. Too still. Outside, the wind howled against the panes, but inside, nothing. Just the weight of the darkness pressing closer, as if waiting for her to breathe wrong, to move wrong, to say the wrong thing. Her phone buzzed again. Another picture. Another shadow. This time, in her bed. The figure was tall, darker than the night itself, faceless, leaning over the pillow. Emma screamed, but only in her head. Outside, the snow continued to fall. Quiet. Endless. And the house waited. The days before Christmas had always carried a certain rhythm for Emma, a gentle crescendo of warmth, scents, and family chatter. But this year, the rhythm had fractured. The Parker house no longer felt like home. Every corner seemed to breathe with anticipation. Every shadow lingered longer than natural. At first, she dismissed it as exhaustion, the late shifts, the endless snowstorms. But soon, the signs became impossible to ignore. It began with the small things. A door slightly ajar that she was certain she'd locked. A chair moved a fraction of an inch from its usual position. Her coffee cup, placed on the counter that morning, later found on the floor, shattered. Each occurrence was subtle, almost trivial, but the pattern was unmistakable. Emma's mind, trained to notice anomalies in her work as a nurse, recognized an order in the chaos. Someone, or something, was cataloging her, testing her boundaries. Neighbors avoided her when she tried to speak of it. The elderly Mrs. Caldwell, who lived 2 houses down, offered a tight-lipped smile, shaking her head. "Some things are better left alone," she whispered once, hurrying inside. Emma's questions were met with polite distance or quick retreats. Even her younger brother, Jamie, who had always teased her about ghost stories, now avoided the subject, eyes darting to corners of the living room. One evening, unable to bear the silence, Emma called her best friend, Mara. I think something's in the house," she confessed, voice low, trembling. Mara laughed nervously. "Emma, it's Christmas Eve. You're probably just stressed. Take a bath, drink some cocoa, watch a movie. Relax." But as Emma hung up, a whisper curled around her ear. "Not alone," she spun. Empty hallway. The sound of her own heartbeat filled the space, or so she thought. Flashbacks began to plague her. Memories she hadn't remembered until now. Tales her grandmother had whispered late at night, stories she had scoffed at as a child. Families frozen in fear on Christmas nights, faces twisted in terror, doors locked from within yet violated by unseen hands. One story stood out. The Parker lineage had always been sensitive. Cursed, her grandmother had said, though she never explained how. Cursed. Emma's rational mind tried to reject it, but the unease clinging to her chest refused to dissipate. Objects in the house grew uncooperative. A mirror in the hallway fogged over, though the air was dry. When Emma approached, she glimpsed figures behind her own reflection. Blurred, indistinct, but unmistakably human. She whirled around, heart in her throat. Nothing. The shadows receded as if obeying some unspoken command. She began documenting every anomaly. Notebooks filled with sketches of shadows, odd scratches on walls, doors that refused to stay shut. At night, she could hear it clearly. The faint shuffle of footsteps in rooms she wasn't in, the whisper of fabric against the floor. A lullaby, distant, fragmented, one line repeated endlessly. Stay, stay, stay. Her sleep became fractured. Dreams invaded by impossible spaces. Staircases folding onto themselves, hallways stretching endlessly, faces of strangers she'd never met staring through windows. Upon waking, she would find small tokens in her room, a miniature reindeer carved from wood, a ribbon tied into a perfect bow, items she hadn't seen before. The climax of her early paranoia occurred on Christmas Eve itself. The wind howled outside like a living thing, rattling windows. Emma sat in the living room, knees pulled to her chest, eyes fixed on the tree. Suddenly, the lights pulsed, not flickering randomly, but in deliberate rhythm, like a heartbeat. The ornaments swayed in unison, though the air was still. She heard a low voice, soft, malevolent, emanating from the tree itself. Emma. Her body froze. Her phone rang violently, shattering the tension. Unknown number. She answered, trembling. Silence. Then a click. A breath. Her own voice, distorted, whispering. Get out. Get out. Emma bolted to the stairs, but the hallway seemed longer, impossibly stretched. Each step groaned, echoing unnaturally. She stopped midway, something at the top waiting. Shadows moved against shadows, folding over themselves. The air smelled of pine and decay. She reached for her brother's room, hoping for human connection, but the door resisted. Locked. Jamie wasn't there. The bed unmade, the pillow indented, not by him but by something else. In desperation, she remembered an old journal she had found among her grandmother's things. Its pages spoke of the Parker family's sensitivity to the presence, particularly on Christmas nights. Family members had vanished, been found catatonic, or left the house screaming about shadows with teeth. The words were written in haste with frantic underlines. Do not open the doors. Do not answer the whispers. It waits for fear. Emma realized then, it wasn't just the house. It was the night itself. The darkness outside the windows, the snow smothering the world in silence, it was part of it too. An extension of something ancient, patient, watching. Her own reflection in the window blinked when she hadn't. A figure crouched behind the kitchen table, low, featureless, breathing with her. Neighbors' whispers returned, now louder, distorted. She shouldn't be here, she shouldn't. Emma pressed herself against the wall, listening. Voices seemed to come from every direction, even from inside her own head. The house had no corners anymore, only angles that bent impossibly, hallways that led to nowhere. And yet, through it all, the figure remained just out of reach, patient, deliberate. Hours passed. Or was it minutes? Time itself warped. Emma stumbled into her old bedroom, desperate for familiarity. The room, too, had shifted. The bed faced the wrong way. The window looked out onto a street she didn't recognize. On the dresser lay a single ornament, a carved face, eyes dark, staring directly at her. The whisper returned, harsh, urgent. Emma, stay. Her heart thundered. She screamed, but the sound seemed swallowed. Her vision blurred. The shadows thickened, pooling around her feet, reaching, stretching. Objects moved, not haphazardly, but as if orchestrated. The house wasn't haunted randomly. It was alive. A predator with patience. Waiting. Emma sank to the floor, head in her hands, and finally whispered what she had been avoiding. I'm losing it. The whisper returned, now mocking, almost amused. No, you're just beginning. Outside, the snow fell. Inside, the Parker house waited, patient and deliberate, for the night to unfold. The house seemed to breathe now, inhaling and exhaling with her every fearful movement. Emma's knees dragged through the warped carpet as she ascended the stairs, her fingers grazing the walls that pulsed like skin. The shadows had thickened, pooling in corners and crevices, writhing as if alive. Time had become a distant concept. Minutes, hours, she couldn't tell. The snow outside had stopped falling, leaving the world beyond the windows a frozen void. At the top of the stairs, the hallway stretched endlessly, twisting impossibly. Her bedroom door was no longer where it should have been. Every step she took seemed to bend the floor beneath her, and the walls whispered her name in a chorus of overlapping voices, some urgent, some mocking, all impossible to place. A cold wind inside the house pushed her forward. Emma's heart pounded so fiercely it felt as if it could shatter her ribs. Ahead, a dim light flickered, orange like a dying candle. She reached the source. The living room. The Christmas tree stood taller than memory, its lights pulsating with a slow, cruel rhythm. Ornaments spun on their own, carving the air with distorted reflections. And beneath the tree crouched the shadow, a figure so dark it seemed to absorb the light. Emma froze, trembling. It didn't move toward her, but the air between them hummed, charged with inevitability. She tried to speak. Her voice came out strangled. What are you?" A whisper, low and grinding, slithered from the figure. "I've been waiting." Her instinct screamed to flee, but her legs refused. Every path she tried, the hallway, the stairs, the doorways, folded back onto the living room. The house itself was a trap, and she was at its center. Images flashed in her mind. Family members long gone, eyes wide with the same terror she felt, faces frozen mid-scream. Emma realized the house wasn't just haunted. It was a collector, a predator that fed on fear, patience its weapon, inevitability its prey. The shadow rose, impossibly tall now, stretching beyond the ceiling. Its form remained featureless, yet she felt its gaze pierce her mind, sifting through memories, testing her resolve. A whisper coiled in her ears. "You can't hide. You can't run. You belong." Emma screamed, a raw, broken sound, but the house swallowed it. The lights flickered violently, strobing in erratic patterns. Shadows multiplied, stretching along the walls and floor, intertwining like black rivers. She stumbled backward, catching herself on the couch, and saw them. Figures emerging from every corner. Her grandmother, her parents, neighbors she remembered from childhood. Their faces were distorted, twisted by fear and sorrow, but the eyes glimmering black, looked through her, accusing, warning. "Stop!" she yelled. Her voice cracked, echoing off the impossible geometry. "Leave me alone." The shadow crouched closer. Its whispers multiplied, forming a chant, an incantation of voices overlapping, urgent and cruel. "Stay, stay, stay. Fear, fear, belong." Her mind swam. Memories blurred. The floor beneath her rippled like water, walls bending and twisting. She saw her own reflection in a shattered mirror on the floor. Her eyes wide, pupils blackened, mouth open in silent scream. Behind her reflection, another face pressed close, featureless, mocking. Emma scrambled backward, tripping over furniture that had moved in the blink of an eye. The lights flickered out, leaving only the faint glow from the streetlights outside, distorted by warped windows. She felt cold fingers brush her skin, sharp, deliberate, but no hands were visible. Her hair stood on end. A voice whispered, soft but commanding, from the darkness. "It's your turn. It's always your turn." Emma collapsed onto the floor, hands over her ears, rocking slightly. The room shifted again. The ceiling stretched up impossibly high, the walls breathing. Her own voice screamed back at her, coming from the shadows. "Help! Help! Help!" From the corner of her eye, a door, one she hadn't seen before, opened slowly. A pale light spilled out, warm and inviting, a stark contrast to the oppressive darkness. She crawled toward it, desperate, but the floor beneath her rippled, sending her sliding backward. The shadow loomed, taller than ever, and she saw its form, a void of darkness, yet with appendages reaching like black tendrils, probing, testing, claiming. "Emma," the voice whispered again. Closer, warmer, terrifying. "You wanted to see, you wanted to know." She pushed herself to stand, legs trembling, blood pounding in her ears. She ran toward the door, and as she reached it, the shadow moved with impossible speed, stretching across the room, enveloping everything. The figures of her family, neighbors, even herself, emerged from the darkness, hands outstretched, eyes pleading. She tried to dodge, but the space itself fought her. The hallway behind her elongated, twisting like a snake. She screamed, lunging for the door. She felt herself lifted off the floor, carried backward by invisible hands. The shadow's whispers merged into a singular, relentless voice. Fear, belong, frozen. Her body hit the floor with a dull, hollow thud. She looked up. The door no longer led anywhere. Windows showed only darkness. The tree beneath which the shadow crouched pulsed with black light, ornaments spinning in slow, hypnotic rhythm. She realized with sudden, sickening clarity. There was no escape. The house was the night. The night was the house. Her mind fractured. Reality became inconsistent. One moment she was in the living room, the next she was in the kitchen, the stairs above her, the bedroom behind her. She shouted her brother's name, Jamie, but the voice that answered was hers, twisted, broken, screaming. It's too late. It's too late. The shadow advanced, tendrils brushing her cheeks, cold and solid as stone. She fell to her knees, gasping, heart hammering. The whisper came directly into her mind, intimate, personal. You wanted to see. You wanted to know. Now you belong. Emma's vision blurred. Figures of her family reached out, mouths moving in silent screams. The house shifted again, a corridor folding into itself. She felt herself lifted, suspended between floor and ceiling, held in the grasp of the night itself. The shadow pressed closer, filling her vision. She could feel the void inside, stretching to touch her thoughts, her fears, her very being. Stop! She screamed, pounding the floor. Her words felt powerless. Her arms flailed, grasping at nothing. The house vibrated with the collective weight of every fear it had absorbed over generations. Every Christmas night, it had waited. Every scream, every panic, every frozen family, it had catalogued, refined. Tonight, Emma was its masterpiece. Her vision tunneled. The last thing she saw before darkness consumed her. The carved wooden face from the tree ornament, eyes glinting, mouth twisted in a permanent, knowing grin. The whisper, cold and omnipresent, filled her mind one final time. Welcome home. Then silence. Or rather, something colder than silence. A stillness that pressed against her mind. Waiting. Patient. Inevitable. Outside, the snow continued to fall, unbroken, white and immaculate. The Parker house sat quietly among the trees, lights flickering softly as if nothing had happened. But inside, the night had claimed another, and the shadows waited for the next Christmas, the next family, the next fear to harvest. The morning sun broke over the Parker house, pale and diffused, struggling through the heavy snow-laden clouds. Outside, the world appeared untouched, calm, festive in the way a Christmas morning should be. Icicles hung from the eaves, the streets silent except for the distant barking of a dog. Everything looked ordinary. Everything but inside. The front door hung slightly ajar, creaking as it moved with the faintest push of the wind. Inside, the living room was still. The Christmas tree lights flickered faintly, though no one was home to watch them. Ornaments spun slowly, catching what little light filtered through the windows. The room smelled faintly of pine and iron, a scent that clung to the walls, to the carpet, to the air itself. Neighbors would later report that the house appeared empty. Windows reflected the snow outside, but no figures could be seen. No movement. No sounds, except the occasional creak that seemed too deliberate to belong to an old house. Inside, Emma sat in the corner of the living room. Or at least a version of her did. Her body was still, unmoving, pale under the dim light. Her eyes, wide and dark, stared past the room into spaces no one else could see. She breathed, but her chest moved mechanically, as if her body remembered life while her mind wandered somewhere else entirely. Time had no meaning here. Minutes, hours, maybe days. She could no longer tell. The house continued to stretch, fold, and warp around her. Shadows pooled in the corners, then retreated, then advanced again. She was alone, yet not alone. Every whisper she had heard in the night lingered, circling, repeating endlessly. Stay. Belong. Frozen. The ornament with the carved face lay at her feet. It seemed innocuous, almost festive, yet the eyes glimmered, reflecting a darkness older than the house itself. She reached for it. Compulsion, curiosity, terror all tangled together. But as her fingers brushed the wood, the shadow's presence deepened. The black tendrils curled around her thoughts, probing, measuring, claiming. A voice echoed in the room, not through her ears, but through her mind, soft and intimate, like a lullaby with teeth. You can rest. You are home now. You are safe. If you obey. She flinched, trembling. Safety had never felt like this. The warmth of a blanket, the comfort of family, the laughter of past Christmases, all replaced by the oppressive certainty of inevitability. The entity had won. She was no longer just a witness. She belonged. And yet, somewhere deep inside, a fragment of her remained. Tiny, fragile, a whisper of defiance. She tried to move, to scream, to run, but the house bent around her, corridors looping endlessly, doors leading back to the same spot. Every effort reinforced the nightmare. Resistance only tightened the shadow's grip. Outside, the snow continued to fall, muffling all sound. It coated the streets, the rooftops, the trees, creating a perfect white silence. And inside, the Parker house waited, patient and vigilant, a predator disguised as a home, a festive sanctuary turned prison. By midday, the first curious passerby noticed the flickering lights. Packages left on the doorstep remained untouched. Mail piled up, accumulating in small towers. A neighbor knocked, then twice more, receiving no answer. The house appeared serene from the outside, cheerful almost. But inside, Emma's mind traced the same patterns, the same shadows, the same whispers. She remembered fleeting images of her family. The warmth of her mother's voice, her father's laughter, Jamie's teasing. But each recollection twisted under the pressure of the entity. Faces blurred, voices became whispers, laughter warped into something hollow and wrong. She realized with a pang that she would never see them again. Not in the world she had known. The house fed on memory as much as fear. Her recollections of safety, of Christmas, of love, all became tools for the darkness, shaping her thoughts into corridors of panic and despair. She tried to remember the night before, the moments of hope, of courage, but they felt distant, like memories borrowed from someone else. As evening fell, the house deepened its shadows, wrapping every corner in velvet darkness. She could hear faint sounds, floorboards creaking, whispers rustling along walls, ornaments spinning lightly. Each movement deliberate, each whisper calculated. Then she noticed something new. The door to the basement, a door she had never paid attention to, was ajar. From the opening came a faint glow, warmer than the house, almost inviting. Against her instinct, she crawled closer. Shadows pulled at her, but curiosity, the same force that had trapped her tonight, compelled her forward. The glow revealed objects, old decorations, boxes, gifts never delivered. Among them, something familiar. Her grandmother's journal, the one she had discovered days earlier. She opened it. Pages brittle and yellowed. Words she remembered reading before now twisted into new warnings. Notes she had never seen. The house is patient. It takes what it wants. The night obeys no law but fear. Do not look. Do not answer. Do not. The final words, smudged, illegible, seemed to seep into the air around her. She dropped the journal. Shadows recoiled momentarily, almost as if annoyed, then reformed, enveloping her entirely. Emma's breathing slowed, each inhale deliberate, controlled. She realized she had reached the limits of resistance. No amount of struggle could undo what had been done. The house had claimed her, but it had also taught her the inevitability of night, the patience of darkness, the futility of defiance. A single ornament spun before her eyes, the carved face glinting in the dim light. She reached out instinctively, touching it again. A whisper caressed her mind. Forever. She blinked. The room returned to a semblance of normality. The tree stood straight, the ornaments glittered gently, the shadows withdrew to corners, but the knowledge remained. The entity had not vanished. It had only consolidated its claim. Emma's mind, her very soul, had been folded into the fabric of the house. Outside, a family walked down the street, unaware. Christmas lights twinkled in their windows. Carolers' voices carried faintly on the wind. The Parker house remained dark and silent from the outside, a perfect, picturesque home. Inside, Emma's consciousness drifted in the spaces between shadow and memory, eternally watching, eternally waiting, forever frozen in the quiet horror of Christmas night. And in the quietest moment, when no sound dared disturb the snow outside, a new whisper entered the air, faint, almost playful. Next, the wind shifted. The snow fell heavier. The house exhaled. And the night waited.